Hello, my name is Trent Terry. Welcome to my new series, Rock and Heavy Metal Analysis. This is where I'm going to take a look at a rock or heavy metal band and give you guys my opinion on them. Today I thought that I would start off with one of the biggest heavy metal bands of all time, Metallica. I absolutely love Metallica. They're one of my favourite bands of all time. Rock to never, never land. Okay, that is a pretty horrible James Hetfield impersonation. I have a lot of good childhood memories of my dad and uncle blasting Metallica music on the stereo at full volume. Back then, they used to have these stereo systems where you could put 6 CDs in at once, and, it would just rotate the CDs around, like, when one CD finished, the next one would start. That was like high-tech technology in the fucking 90s. My dad and my uncle, they'll just put all the fucking Metallica albums in there. Because my dad is a huge fan of Metallica. He's seen them live 2 times. I haven't seen them live once, but I would definitely go the next time that Metallica comes to Australia. I'm in. I'm pretty sure that when my dad passes away, which isn't going to be in the near future because he's a young guy, he's only in his 40s. I'm talking about when my dad is in his 80s or 90s and he passes away. I know for a fact, I know that he is not going to want any corny crap like In the Arms of a Fucking Angel to be played at his funeral. He is going to want Enter Sandman by Metallica to be played. Because he would want people to remember him as the heavy metal loving guy that he was. In the Arms of an Angel, that is definitely not my dad. Like, he would say, what the fuck's this gay crap? So yeah, Metallica definitely hold a special place in my heart. They formed in 1981 and they released their first album 2 years later in 1983, Kill 'Em All. It features the song Seek and Destroy, which is still a fan favourite today, and they still play that song live. Their second album, Ride the Lightning, came out a year later in 1984. This album features a song For Whom the Bell Tolls, which is definitely a top 10 favourite Metallica songs for me because I absolutely love that song. But it was their third album in 1986 which catapulted Metallica as one of the best heavy metal bands of all time. Master of Puppets, a fucking cult classic album. I absolutely love it. It features the titular song Master of Puppets and also the song Battery, and they're 2 of my favourite songs by Metallica. When most people think of classic heavy metal songs, Master of Puppets is usually the first song that pops up in their mind because it is just a fucking classic. If you're a heavy metal fan in general, you need to listen to Master of Puppets, the album, at least once in your life. Even if you're not like a huge Metallica fan and you're like, oh, Metallica, they're just not for me, you need to listen to this album. Okay, it's like if you're a punk rock fan, you need to listen to Nevermind the Bollocks by the Sex Pistols at least once. Their 4th album came out in 1988, and Justice for All. This album features one of my favourite songs by Metallica. It is my favourite song by Metallica, actually. One is my number 1 favourite song by Metallica. It has a really tragic story. It's about a guy who was in the war and he stepped on a landmine and it sent him into a coma where he couldn't talk, he couldn't see, and he couldn't communicate with anybody. But his brain was still working. He could still think in his head. It was a real Terry Schiavo type of situation. Just imagine how horrible that would be. Just laying in bed, you could think, but you can't communicate. You can't, talk. You can't move whatsoever. Just imagine how much of a hell that would feel. Like, the only thing you can do is be left alone with your own thoughts. I'm saying this right now. If that ever happens to me, pull the fucking plug because I do not want to live like that. Think of it like this. Have you ever had sleep paralysis? I know I have. Sleep paralysis is when sometimes when you wake up for about 15 to 20 seconds, your mind is awake, but you can't move and you can't speak, and, but your mind is, waking up, but you can't move or talk or do anything. Just imagine having sleep paralysis for years on end. Just imagine that. Like, that would be like fucking hell for me. Like, I would hate that. but just not being able to tell my loved ones that I love them, not being able to, you know, do my YouTube videos. I think people who are like that, they should have the plug pulled, because just imagine, I bet they're like screaming in their brain, pull the fucking plug! Oh, what am I gonna do? I mean, come on, wouldn't you if you were in that situation? I don't know when the fuck a video about Metallica turned into a video about euthanasia, but I'm just gonna talk, I'm just gonna move on and talk about Metallica. Metallica's 5th album came out in 1991, and this is the album which really splits fans in half. Because some people think that this is a classic album, and others see this as the end of Metallica being good. They think it's horrible and they don't like the change in the sound. Me, personally, I think that this is a classic album. Songs like The Unforgiven, Nothing Else Matters, and of course, Enter Sandman. And one thing that I do like about Metallica is that they do change their sound. They try something new. They don't stick to doing the same stuff over and over and over again. They know that music changes, and they want to change with it, and they don't want to just stick and be over here while, music is changing. They want to move along, and they want to change their style of music to, fit what music is popular at the moment. When the Black Album came out in 1991, what type of music was popular at the time? Grunge, like Nirvana, Pearl Jam. And Metallica, they tapped into that. That's why some of the songs on the Black Album sound a bit of that era. They sound a bit grungy. And again, in 2003, when they released the album Saint Anger, which I think is an underrated album. A lot of people don't like that album, but personally, I think that that's a pretty decent album. Around the time that that album was released, nu metal was really popular. You had bands like System of a Down and Papa Roach and Limp Bizkit and Linkin Park and Disturbed, and that is what Metallica is trying to, sound like, of that era of metal with the album Saint Anger. I mean, in 2003, they could have released an album which sounded like the stuff that they did back in the 80s. But then people would say, oh, these guys, they're stuck in the past. So I think it is really good that they are changing with the times to adapt to what music or what style of music is popular at the moment. I'm not sure if Metallica is going to go electronic and release a dubstep album, but I mean, that would be something that I would actually love to see that. I would love to see Metallica try something out of the box and release a dubstep album. Well, obviously with James Hetfield's vocals over the electronic beat that they would be doing. Like, I'm always up for listening to something new. I mean, like, you don't want your artists doing the exact same thing over and over and over again to the point that it gets really annoying and repetitive. Like, you don't want to hear Metallica do like, another Master of Puppets or another One. So yeah, Metallica, a fucking classic metal band. They formed in the 80s, and today they're still releasing decent music. Please like this video and share it around and subscribe to my channel. My name is Trent Terry. See you next time.